If you're just arriving in HumanitZ thinking it's just another zombie survival game, let me warn you, this game loves to punish silly mistakes and reward those who think 2 steps ahead. It mixes exploration and looting with base building, crafting, and survival in the best every decision costs you style. And this becomes even more evident when the game throws recurring danger at you that can turn into chaos if you're ill prepared. So, to save your time and avoid those unfair deaths, today I'm going straight to the point with 10 advanced tips I wish I'd heard before investing hours into a save. And these aren't drink water and eat food type tips. So come with me, I'm Matthew, and the video is about to start. If there's one thing I learned quickly, it's that the game punishes those who go out too light and have to head back to base every 5 minutes. That's why my #1 tip is grab Powerlifter as soon as possible. It sounds simple, but it completely changes the pace of your survival because you stop playing like a delivery boy and start playing like a real explorer. With this skill, you carry much more weight, which in practice means more valuable loot per trip. You can clear a distant area calmly, grabbing tools, ammo, food, and crafting materials without constantly thinking, damn, I'm full, I have to go back. Fewer trips also mean less time exposed on the road, less noise, and less chance of running into trouble on the way. The best part is, there's no mystery to getting skill points. Just play the way the game wants you to play by taking down zombies and hostile humans. I treat these encounters as an investment. Every kill is a small step toward being more efficient. And efficiency in this game is worth gold when you start building your base and planning longer routes. So my advice is direct. As soon as you have enough points, invest in Powerlifter first and feel the difference immediately. You'll notice you have more time, more resources, and even your decision making becomes more aggressive. Because now you can say, I'm going further, without that mental burden of knowing you'd need 3 trips to bring it all back. Choosing the mechanic profession is one of those decisions that seems small at the start but becomes huge once the map opens up and distances begin to take their toll. I like it because it's a choice that provides comfort and consistency. You plan better, explore further, and don't live in fear of your trip ending in the middle of the road. That 50% bonus to repair kit effectiveness basically turns every kit into a kit and a half. In practice, this means fewer resources spent, fewer mandatory stops, and much more confidence to stretch a route, go around a dangerous spot, or return fully loaded without praying for the car to hold up until you reach base. Mobility in HumanitZ isn't a luxury, it's a tactical advantage. A working vehicle lets you choose your fights, control your time, and even fix mistakes. Did a loot run go sideways? You're not stuck improvising on foot in the dark. You retreat, reorganize, and come back better prepared. On long explorations, this is the kind of security that turns into real efficiency. So, if your vibe is playing smarter rather than harder, mechanic is a choice I recommend without a second thought. You gain the freedom to explore a large map as if it were yours, because every kit goes further, maintenance is cheaper, and your progression stays fluid from the early to the mid-game. A tip I love is treating the trader as a smart shortcut, not a luxury shop. When you start to understand what's actually stalling your progress, it becomes obvious that it's worth saving money for rare items that unlock consistency, especially those related to car maintenance. It's the kind of purchase that seems expensive in the moment but gives you back hours of time and safety. If I had to focus on a can't go wrong shopping list, I'd go straight to the car part traders and prioritize fan belts, starter motors, 200 batteries, 25 each, repair kits, 45, and full fuel cans, 150. These items are what keep your mobility alive, and mobility in this game is almost a superpower. You choose where to loot, come back with more stuff, and reduce the risk of being stranded far from base due to a minor mechanical issue. The trick is that this also cuts down on that annoying cycle of I need to explore just to find parts so I can explore. When you buy the right parts, you turn exploration into profit and progress rather than a survival race to fix the basics. I like to think of it this way. Every repair kit and battery in stock is a guaranteed stress-free long trip. And then there's the fun part. Some traders are worth the visit just for the unique items. Buck Fernandez, for example, having things like the katana and saw blade is that bonus that changes your combat style and gives a great sense of reward for having saved up and found the right guy. Even if you don't buy everything, knowing what to look for and when to spend makes you play with much more control. Something I've come to value deeply in HumanitZ is choosing a base based on routine, not just being defensible and pretty. That's why I always recommend building near freshwater lakes, because water is that resource you think you have under control until you start farming, cooking, and purifying, only to realize your life has become carrying bottles back and forth. In regions like A5SW, C4NW, C2SE, D3, and E5, further south of the map center, the advantage is very practical. You step up to the lake, fill a bunch of bottles with dirty water quickly, and get back to what you need to do. Whether it's for farming or putting everything through the purification process, the time gain is absurd because you cut out the boring trips that normally drain your day and your patience. I like this choice because it makes your base more efficient in a constant way, not just during crises. When you're near water, you can keep your stock high, plan your loot runs better, and still have a margin for error like returning injured or low on food without panicking because you're missing the basics. In the end, a base near a lake is the kind of decision that doesn't show up as an upgrade on the screen, but you feel it in the game's flow. You spend less time on logistics, reduce unnecessary exposure on the road, and keep progression smoother, especially when the game starts requiring more farming and setup maintenance. Installing front and rear bumpers on the car was one of those choices I only understood the value of when ammo started getting scarce and every shot began to hurt the wallet. With bumpers, the car stops being just transport and becomes a real survival tool, especially when you're far from base and can't solve everything with bullets. In practice, running over zombies becomes a very efficient way to clear a path and save ammo in critical moments. I don't use this as a solution for every situation, but when the street is overrun and I know spending bullets will leave me empty-handed later, I prefer to use the car intelligently, making controlled passes to clear space for looting or retreating without entering chaos. Another trick I like is leaving the headlights on to mark your position, especially when you park in an area where everything looks the same or when you're in that get in, get out, grab it, go back, rush. The headlights become a great visual reference, like a meeting point, but you have to remember this comes at a price. The battery will drain if you're not careful. So I do a simple compromise. Headlights on when I need to orient myself or during a quick trip, and I watch the battery as if it were a health bar. Because there's no worse feeling than finishing a perfect loot run, returning happy to the car, and discovering you've turned your reference point into a dead weight in the middle of the map. If there's one tip I wish I had followed sooner in HumanitZ, it's make a table saw as soon as possible. I delayed it because I thought, oh, the handsaw is fine for now, and then I got stuck in that annoying cycle of spending too much time cutting wood and too little time actually evolving the base. The table saw changes the game because it turns logs into more than double the planks compared to the handsaw. In practice, it's like every trip to get logs yields 2, sometimes 3 construction sessions. You start to feel the game finally giving you back time, and that time turns into walls, floors, reinforcements, and comfort. It also speeds up more advanced constructions, especially lockers. I prefer lockers over boxes because the organization is much cleaner and storage is more efficient, so the base stops looking like a makeshift warehouse and starts functioning like a real home, with everything in its place and easy to find when an emergency hits. The way I see it is simple. A table saw is an infrastructure investment, not a luxury. If you make it a priority early on, you cut the grind at the root, improve your logistics, and reach that sweet phase of the game where you stop surviving by a thread and start truly planning. If I had to choose 2 places to become my fixed loot route, they would be storage lockers and auto shops. It's the kind of tip that seems obvious after you do a few runs and realize these spots usually give you exactly what costs the most to find when you're stuck, whether it's to gear up better or keep your car running. At storage lockers, the best move is to go prepared to break down doors with a blunt weapon. I know it gives you that I'm making too much noise feeling, but the return usually pays off because real premium loot can come out of there. Car parts that save a trip, food to extend exploration, and even weapons that change your safety level instantly. Auto shops, on the other hand, are almost therapy when you're in the phase where everything revolves around mobility. Repair kits and parts appear more frequently, and for me, that has huge value because maintenance is what defines whether you explore the map or stay trapped in a small radius around your base. Every time I leave an auto shop with a repair kit in my backpack, I feel like I've bought time. What I like about this combination is that it creates a very efficient cycle. Lockers give you variety and quick upgrades, while auto shops give you the sustainability to keep moving. When you fit this into your routine, the game becomes less about luck and more about consistency. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that a secure base isn't a pretty base. It's a base that's annoying to invade. That's where advanced locks come in, because they turn your doors into a real obstacle, especially against hostiles and that constant threat of someone trying to picklock their way in when you least expect it. I like to think of advanced locks as the first layer, the minimum that gives you peace of mind to sleep, craft, and organize your inventory without looking over your shoulder. Putting them on the right doors, especially obvious entrances and those that give direct access to your storage, greatly reduces the chance of losing everything to a security lapse. The second layer, for me, is traps, pitfalls, and barbed wire. Pitfalls are excellent for catching Zeeks and punishing humans moving on autopilot, and barbed wire has that perfect hold and alert effect because it slows down the approach, deals damage, and creates the chaos that gives you time to react. The secret is to combine everything with intention. Locks to prevent quick access, barbed wire to control the path and force bad routing, and pitfalls at points where you know they'll step when trying to go around. When you set this up right, your base stops being an easy target and becomes a place where the invader pays a high price just for trying. Exploring military points of interest in HumanitZ, like airports and bunkers, is a decision I always take with respect because the game makes it clear. The risk here is high. But at the same time, when you're looking for better weapons, plenty of ammo, and end-game gear, these places become a natural goal because the reward can take your run to the next level. What I do is treat these areas as a planned operation, not a stroll. I mark it on the map, prepare my inventory, healing, food, free space, and arrive with the mindset of getting in, grabbing as much as possible, and getting out alive without trying to be a hero in the middle of a gunfight. If you go without a plan, these places swallow you up. If you go with focus, they feed you for a long time. Another thing that's very worth it is understanding the loot cycle. If you really want to farm, come back after the respawn. And yes, emptying everything is important because it forces the game to repopulate the location more efficiently on the next visit. I learned this in practice. When you leave things behind, sometimes you come back expecting a miracle and find the same scraps you ignored. In the end, airports and bunkers become fixed points on your route once you have a minimum amount of structure. I like them because they are the type of place that rewards those who play with their heads. Mark it, clear it, take everything, get out, and repeat later. Is it scary? Yes, but it's that good kind of fear, knowing that if it works, you'll head back to base looking like a different player. It took a while for the penny to drop, but in HumanitZ, a vehicle isn't just transport, it's mobile storage, and that totally changes how I plan my runs. When you stop thinking, I'm going there to loot and come back, and start thinking, I'm going to set up an expedition, the car becomes your extra stock, your escape plan, and your support point on the map. And each model has a personality worth exploring. The camper van with its built-in stove is a lifesaver for cooking without, depending on the base. You can stretch your exploration and keep your buffs active without rushing back. On the other hand, the Nord T1000 and the Levy F10 shine when the idea is to carry logs, because then you can do that heavy construction farm in a single trip without going back and forth as if you were carrying cement bags in your arms. The security SUV even has a police siren, which is a bit of a bold tool. It can help you draw attention, create a distraction, or just cause controlled chaos when you need to clear a path. I don't use it all the time because noise in a zombie game is always a negotiation with disaster, but it's good to remember it exists and can save you in specific situations. For this strategy to truly work, there are two habits I consider mandatory: keeping the vehicle repaired with kits, and having a hose to siphon fuel whenever the opportunity arises. I like to head out with the car thinking, this is my warehouse, so I treat fuel and durability as resources just as important as ammo, because without them, your mobile storage just becomes dead weight stuck on the road.